Welcome in, everybody. It is another edition of Disney Dialogues. Hello, Jen. How are you?
Hello, I
I
am
am.
good. How are
I,
you?
I'm great. I'm loving the dark background. It's got you all there, and you're colored up. Man, you look great. I wish I got to get some ears. Apparently, it's maybe that's something I need to look at.
I'm in I'm in an alternate filming location today. So,
Alternate filming. Oh, hey, we got to do what we got to do. So I'm glad you're here. The point is, we are streaming, and that's a good thing. Welcome into everybody in the chat. We're not going to have time, obviously, on our dialogue show to go through everybody in the chat, but we are so appreciative of so many people in here already. Already 25 people and counting as we're going through. We will try to get to as many of your comments as we can tonight, I promise, and bring them up on the screen. We've got a great show lined up. Jen, we talk about movies and the history of Disney and everything that we love, and a lot of it starts with those cells and availability to them. And man, it's unbelievable. So I'm excited tonight.
if there are no cells, there are no movies. If there are no movies, there are no characters. If there are no characters, there's no theme park. So it all plays into it. This is the building blocks of it. This is where it all starts. And, I can't express how special this is. This is the first time that we're going to talk to someone who has these cells. I mean, this is the actual animation.
Mhm.
So I can't even express how excited I am.
I was ogling over Roger Rabbit myself, as you know.
Well, of course.
Of course.
Favorite character.
So we're excited tonight. Mandy will be getting, I just gave Mandy all the links for our guests tonight. She has them just now, so she will be able to get them out to the moderators. Thank you, Mandy, for bringing that to my attention that we needed that. I appreciate that. Love having her in charge and doing what she's doing. She's doing an amazing job. So we're excited. We'll get as many questions up as we can. During the introduction tonight, I know everybody, just a little disclaimer. We usually bring just the clear cut pictures of everything that we're doing. If it's an artist, we've got their clear cut art and all that. Tonight, I chose to do it a little bit differently. I'm not just doing that. I actually have screenshots of the gallery site, and the reason I did that is I want you to be able to see the information on the piece and what it's retailing for right now. I think it's to give you a little bit better show. Jen looked over it. She liked it. She agreed with me. This was the best way to go. So that's what we're going to do tonight, just so you know, as we go through. And Jen, as you're doing your introduction tonight, I'm going to be sharing with our guest, with our guests in the chat, a few of the selections from over there on the website. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's talk about our guest tonight.
Well, our guest tonight is the proud owner of the Wonderful World of Animation Art Gallery. It's a beloved institution that has been showcasing incredible artwork and celebrating the magic of animation all the way since 1993.
Wow.
Her gallery specializes in original vintage Disney animation art, offering a rare and authentic glimpse into the magic of Disney's artistic legacy. And beyond her professional work, she is also a passionate personal collector who
Yeah,
treasures these timeless pieces herself.
absolutely.
Debbie's outstanding collection is recognized as one of the largest of its kind in the world, and
That's
her
it.
unparalleled knowledge and passion for the art form led Animation Magazine to honor her as one of the 12 most influential people in the industry. That is amazing. That's awesome.
That's absolutely incredible.
Mhm. Pieces from her gallery have been proudly featured in prestigious institutions such as the Smithsonian, the Walt Disney Family Museum, and the Peanuts Museum. Didn't even know there was a Peanuts Museum, just to
There
name a
is.
few.
There is.
There is.
Yes,
There is. Reflecting the cultural and artistic significance of the collection that she curates.
absolutely.
Her gallery features an incredible range of animation art, showcasing pieces from Disney, The Simpsons, Hanna-Barbera, Tim Burton, Warner Brothers, Peanuts, and Tom and Jerry, and that's just to name a few.
And I'm going to ask you if I could interrupt for 1 second here. I want to point out a
Sure.
couple things. First off, one, look at those names that Jen just said. Those are iconic names that, through our history of our life, I don't think you could have the life that we have without Hanna-Barbera as kids, Warner Brothers, what
Mhm.
they did through the years, The Simpsons, the longest running forever. I mean, it's
Right.
unbelievable. Disney, what we love, Tom and Jerry growing up was my essential. So that's one thing. That right before that, you said, think about this buildings that we're talking about. I'm getting, look, I got goosebumps. There it is. It just happened. The
Mm-hmm.
Smithsonian, the history of the Our World, Our Lives. Our
Mm-hmm.
gallery's been featured in there. The Walt Disney Family Museum. I'm dying to go to San Francisco to go to that museum, and it's there. And of
Got to
course,
get there.
now that we
Mm-hmm.
know that there's a Peanuts museum, I want to find it. Um, this is we're talking iconic tonight of what
Mm-hmm.
Debbie's impact has been, and then I'd also like to point out that Christmas is coming, and I do like Roger Rabbit. Jen, I just
Well, if you thought those points were epic, listen to this.
okay.
She has also been featured in both US and international press. She's had appearances on CNN,
Whoa,
Forbes, BBC, as well as numerous TV and radio programs,
wow,
along with widespread recognition across all social media platforms. So she's literally everywhere.
yeah,
She's been
incredible.
everywhere.
Wow,
Another great thing is that she proudly serves on the board of the remarkable charity protect.org. And for those that don't know, it's an organization dedicated to rescuing and advocating for children who are suffering from abuse. So that
I
is just a wonderful cause.
absolutely love that. Love that.
Our guest tonight is also well rounded, shaped by a remarkable life journey that includes touring the Disney Animation Research Library, living abroad in both London and Tokyo,
Hmm.
and working alongside incredible animators from around the world.
Wow.
So it is our distinguished honor to welcome someone to the show who holds a deep appreciation for animation, cherishing its artistry as much as the animators themselves. So please join us in welcoming the incredible Debbie Weiss.
Hello, welcome in.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you. I'm kind of speechless, but I know I'm supposed to talk during this, so I'm gonna have to figure out something.
Well, well, it's amazing, but it's a true tribute to the impact you've
Mhm.
made on a lot of fronts, and I'm impressed, and to top it all off with your success to not only be a part of a charity or support a charity, but to be on the board of a charity like Protect.org. It's a testament to your character. So we couldn't be happier to sit with you tonight and introduce you to our community and have a little fun with us here. So Jen, great job on the introduction. And
Thank
again, I do just want to point out that Christmas is coming, and Roger Rabbit. So there we go.
Yeah, we heard you the first time.
Okay, I just making
Hint taken.
making sure. I just wanted to cover myself. So let's get into it. Let's just start. We're going to talk about a lot of topics tonight. We're going to share a lot, ladies and gentlemen. As you're watching tonight, up you'll see in center screen there. We are going to have different cell scenes that are available on the website right now. This is an amazing one of Jiminy Cricket
Mhm.
from the background of Pinocchio from 1940. Everybody knows I love Jiminy Cricket. So as Debbie answers our questions tonight, I've asked her kind of maybe at the end of the question after she's done that. It's just if she wants to highlight a little bit about each one or a little anecdote or anything, she's more than welcome. I think this is pretty amazing to sit there and see the history of animation right before our eyes. And we're starting out right out of the bat from 1940. Think about that, everybody. We're talking 80 years ago, Jiminy Cricket and Pinocchio. So let's just start with just a general introduction for anything we might not have talked about you that you'd like to share with everybody, because we have a lot of friends who might be meeting you for the first time tonight.
I think you covered a lot. I guess what I would maybe add is, it is quite interesting collecting. I started collecting before I had the gallery.
Okay.
And when I lived in Tokyo was when I started collecting. And then I came back to the States and I was trading in Wall Street. I traded Japanese equities and then Argentine. I was a market maker for
Okay.
Barings, which was a British company, and then Oppenheimer. And while I loved what I did, I was good at what I did. Just there was something about the animation. I used to have dreams that I'd find a bunch of cells in someone's garage and basement. These were my dreams. And I'd wake up and go, oh no, that wasn't real. I would take my bonus check from Wall Street, and there was a dealer that's not around anymore, a couple hours from where I lived in Manhattan. And I would drive and spend the whole bonus check
Wow.
and come back with a car full of animation. So I was like, wait a second, I can really have a job doing what I love and sharing the excitement that I feel with other people. It's like a dream come true. And
Awesome.
that's kind of where it came from.
I love that. I love that. And this is a great sell here, this Jiminy Cricket one. That's quite a long time ago with 80 years on it.
Yeah, a lot of the art, is quite old. It's survived all the years. What I really love about the animation or collecting animation, when I was little, I collected comic books. And I
Okay.
remember the first comic book I saw, I know where I was at school. Someone brought in a Richie Rich, and my whole life changed. My stomach flipped, and I was like, what is this thing I didn't know? And that's the whole reaction I had to animation. I was like, what is the thing I didn't know about? And I love color, I love glass. And when you own an original cell or a drawing, you own a piece of that film. It's a one of a kind. Nobody's making another Jiminy Cricket cell from the original film. And what also is nice is pretty much everybody can relate to it. Different countries, different cultures, different ages,
Yeah.
right? You have a 3-year-old in your house, they know who Mickey Mouse is. You have an 80-year-old in your house, they know who Mickey Mouse is. And probably almost everybody has seen most of these films, at least the
Love.
features. So it's really nice to have a piece of art that pretty much anyone who comes in your house can relate to and enjoy. And I
Love that.
like that.
Love that. Love that.
Well, I know that one of your goals has been to introduce people to the joys of collecting the art while also helping seasoned collectors find pieces that really resonate with them. So, could you elaborate on your perspective behind that mission and what it means to you personally?
Sure. So when someone's like a new collector, it's really important to me to find out what's important to them, what their goals are, because there's nothing worse than a collector that gets burned. They bought something different than they thought they were getting, things like that. Because the same thing happened to me when I was first collecting, very, very first. Um, I went to a Disney store, I bought a couple limited editions. I left confused. I thought I had bought one thing. Luckily, I ran into someone who was a much more seasoned collector. They explained to me what had happened, and I returned the pieces. And I thought,
Okay.
gosh, I really don't want that to happen to anybody else. So I've written numerous, numerous articles. I used to write regularly a monthly column for a British magazine, Collectibles, which isn't around anymore. And I stressed a lot people learning before they start collecting. Because if you've had experience, you might not collect again. And I think that's a shame for everybody. So I really try and emphasize definitions on my website. When people come into the gallery, I don't, and my staff, we don't push something on them like, oh, I have the highest margin in this, or I've got a lot of these. I try and ask questions. What's your goal? What makes you happy? What's your favorite film? What price range are you trying to stay in? And then we try and recommend, if they want recommendations of what we think is, the best value, and make them happiest with that. And I've stopped some clients from buying pieces, if you can believe this, because they would go, oh, I like this. I said, okay, but this is what you told me your goals were. Do you feel this piece fits those goals? And they were like, oh, no, it doesn't. And I'm okay with that because I want collectors for life. I have a number of collectors that have spent over $1 million with my gallery. And I've
Wow.
had many collectors, buying for me for 20, 30 years. I think it's because this is who we are. We have a lot of integrity and we want you to be happy. We get very, very few pieces returned any year. We try very hard on the website to give accurate condition descriptions. And usually if we get a piece returned, it's usually like a gift that just wasn't a fit, a surprise for somebody. And in terms of the seasoned collectors, they usually don't need a lot of hand holding. They know what they want. So we keep wish lists of people. So a lot of the pieces that come into the gallery never make it on the website because we have
Because
people
they're out
that,
the door. Wow.
yeah, we have a lot of people that said, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. So when something gets it, you know, we take care of the people that take care of us. So, for example, we just had a lovely Blue Fairy concept piece, which actually I sold maybe 25 years ago. I bought an Animators estate. So, and that's exciting. Like when we talk about, I know, we'll talk about what's exciting, but to me, finding pieces that were never available to collectors before because they were taken home by an employee, an animator, that kind of thing. So I bought an animator's estate with this gorgeous blue fairy concept, sold it right away. 25 years later, it got consigned to us again and we sold it immediately, didn't make it on the site. So it's pretty exciting to me. So that's the kind of thing, a lot of time the seasoned collectors. I've also found a lot of time there's like a collecting journey. When I first started, I was cells. I just want cells. That's what I recognized from the film, cells. And then as I started to get a deeper appreciation for the process, I started collecting some drawings. The drawings aren't as colorful, they're not as recognizable, it doesn't look quite as the film, but that's a lot of the talent behind it, right? These animators created these characters. Then, as I went more along the journey, I started collecting concept art. So, what's interesting about concept art is we're going back in the timeline, right? The drawings are before the cells, then
Right.
the concept art is before. So I find a lot of times the more seasoned a collector is, the more they really understand the process and the further back they go, including myself. But if you had asked me when I first started collecting, do you want a concept piece of Tinkerbell? I'd be like, no, I want to sell of Tinkerbell with things. No, I don't want a concept art. And now I have a lot of concept art. I think it's just, how it goes. Also, there's people who are animators. There's a lot of animators who collect. There's a lot of people who are, say, artists who collect, and they tend to favor the drawings and the
Yeah.
concept art.
Makes
For them,
sense.
that's relatable, right? They're an animator, and they tend to have animators that they quite like.
They
So
quite
milk
like.
call
Makes sense.
is like the gold standard. And if you get a milk call in, you've got, a ton of animators going, milk, 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 milk.
I love it. Tim Andrews is in the chat. He says we need more love for the productions drawings too. There you go, Tim. That's good. That's good
Hi,
comment there. So
Tim.
welcome
I
in.
know Tim.
Well, Tim, hit that subscribe tonight for us. Help us out. We're going to have a great discussion here with your friend tonight. I'm going to slide it over here and say, jump over to our third question. Your passion for animation and this incredible art form clearly began long before you started the gallery in '93. Could you open up to our audience about where this foundation of love for animation came at your earliest point, and how this passion evolved over the years? You talked about finding it there when you were in New York in the job, but was there influences before that, like as in your younger part of your life, that kind of drew you to this?
I didn't actually know animation art existed until I lived in Tokyo in my
Okay.
early 20s. So I collected Archie comics, like Archie Andrews and Betty and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Oh, Steve Spain, thank you. Oh, some of my friends came. That's really
I
nice.
love it. That's great.
I got a little distracted, sorry. So I was living in Tokyo, and my mom, this is before internet, this is before Zoom, this is before all these things. And then she was like, I bought you an Archie cell. And I was like, you bought me a little tiny film strip thing? I didn't understand the process of animation. I didn't realize it was taking a picture of the Archie cell that made it. And I got this piece. I was like, what is this? What is this magical thing I had no idea existed? My life has changed. And then I just made it my mission to find every gallery I could, every magazine I could, everything I could. I kind of put my trading hat on, and I found some places to buy some wonderful, art from, and my life just changed from there.
I love
It
it.
was never
There's
the same again.
That's cool. There's an original ink test right up there, everybody, of Pluto from Walt Disney in the 1940s, $195. So although we had something beginning at almost 4,000, you can also get stuff in the couple $100 range that you could add to your creativity around your house if you want. And you'll see a lot of that tonight throughout the stream as we go through.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm in trouble after this interview.
Well, you'll have a lot of company.
Yeah, new hobby. Okay. Oh boy. But now going back 30 years, you've dedicated over 30 years to your incredible labor of love, the wonderful world of Animation Art Gallery. Could you take just a few moments to share with us the story behind the gallery and what it offers, and maybe some of the milestones and meaningful moments that have defined its journey for you over the years?
Ooh, okay. Let's think. So it started when I was working on New York and out of my apartment in Connecticut, and I realized I couldn't do both. I couldn't give my collectors the time intentionally needed while I was working really long hours trading. So as I mentioned, I left that, started the gallery. Then I moved into Manhattan, had the gallery out of my apartment, and people would make appointments and come. And then my husband is English, and we decided to move to Los Angeles. That made sense for me animation wise. He's in finance. That made a lot of sense. I would say some of the memorable moments, as I said, is spending my check and coming home with a car full of art. Another milestone was Steve Eisen was the largest Disney Snow White collector in the world for a
Okay.
while, and he called me up. I usually don't mention my clients, but I had permission from
Okay.
him, and I drove out again years ago to his house in Indiana. He had an extension on his house that looked like Snow White's cottage, Snow White's window, Snow White's room. This is before cell phones, so I couldn't take any
Right.
pictures. He gave me art on consignment, and that was a huge compliment. Also, the Bajmanian family, they kind of started the animation collecting because John Bajmanian, he took a bunch of art years ago from Disney. They didn't think it was worth anything. I think they threw in the garbage. He's like, this is cool. He took it, and there was a big lawsuit when he tried to sell it, and he won the lawsuit. And it's actually thanks to him that we can all collect now. Some of his relatives contacted us. Again, I have permission for the name to sell that. So that to me, I'm a fangirl with that kind of stuff. I live in
Right.
LA, once in a while you see a Brad Pitt or something around. Don't get me wrong, that's cool. When the Bajmasian family and Steve Eisen call me, that's like, ooh, it feels really good.
I agree. I'm not
Um,
looking for Brad Pitt either. I just want to
yeah.
put that out there.
What's also very flattering is there's people like Didier Gaze and Pierre Lambert. They write these amazing books about the story of animators. They have art in them. And
Nice.
I've lent them some images to be published in those books. And I know Steve Spain, who's on this, has as well. And that's very exciting when you're like, wow, a piece that I have is deemed, worthy of being in these incredible books. Um, the other fun story, it's kind of Simpsons related. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. We got the Simpsons on the screen right there for 12.5. Debbie
Yeah.
Bernfeld, do
Yeah,
not go
that's a
buy
piece
that
in
for
my
us.
collection.
That's
So over
that's
the
awesome.
years, yeah. Over the years, I've been lucky enough, I've seen and sold thousands and thousands of pieces. And so some of the pieces in my collection, show me another one. Yeah. And so that Simpsons, that is a high price, to be fair, for a couch gag, but that's what it's worth to me to sell it. So if someone wants to pay that, and that has happened to me with some of my pieces, that usually there's a range where something should go in, right? Three to
Hmm.
5,000, 5 to 8,000. um but if it's a piece of my collection, I'll put a higher price on it, and some of them have sold, but that's what it's worth to me to
I
sell. I was
love
like,
that.
okay, if I get this, then I
Touche.
can do this
Right.
for my kids and things like that. I have four
I,
kids, and they get expensive.
yes, that I get. I love
um,
that. I love your passion, and I love the variety. Jen and I kind of talked about that with, before the stream with how you get, you go from Simpsons to Tom and Jerry to Warner Brothers to Disney. Obviously, your passion is Disney, but how we can't tell our story of animation honestly without saying the word Simpsons. I don't believe with the years of that's going on. I also would like to point out for anybody that might be watching live in Ninja or catches us on the replay because we have tagged this video pretty good as far as animation goes. Jen and I have done a ton of interviews with already with several key artists that have done Disney artwork, paintings, portraits, hand drawings. We've done a little bit with animators. We would love if you're an animator and you're interested in sharing your magical story for your journey through your times of animation. We would love to talk with you over here because we think a highly regard, gentlemen. Am I saying it right for everything? We have a high regard for
Mhm.
animators and what they do.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If you love Disney, I mean, how could you not love where Disney
Yep.
came from? Like I said in the beginning, these are the building blocks
Hmm.
that lead to everything else that we love about Disney. So, yeah, I'm loving this interview tonight.
Well, let's go over to next thing, which I want to talk about, and that is you mentioned some of your biggest influences in your life came from the early trading in your career. And many of these lessons and experience have shaped the way you run your gallery today. Could you talk about those influences and how they've helped you guide your approach in building and operating the wonderful world of animation?
Sure. So when you're trading, there's kind of different departments. There's sales trading, there's settlements, like the trade has to settle clean. If the trade doesn't settle clean, you can get fines, you can get this or that. So I kind of think of my gallery as a trading floor, if you like. We get art in, and I used to be a market maker. So I would determine what prices were for Telefonica Argentina. These weren't things traded on the American floor.
Okay.
So right now I like to say I made a market in Telefonica Argentina, and now I make a market in Mickey Mouse. So you get, something new in, and there's a range that they usually sell in. It's not a perfect science. Even if you go into different supermarkets, right? Milk's priced a little differently, but these things are antiques. So the price ranges are higher. So we get things in, so I'll buy something or I'll take in consignment. I kind of make the market. So when people show us art for sale, we like options. We want them give them options. We say we believe the right retail for your prices for your pieces, for example, between 500 and 1,000, or we'll pay you X for it as a buyout. Do you want to
Hmm.
sell it? Do you want to be done? Do you want to do it on consignment? And then we work with them. Some people go, you pick the price. Some people say, I'd like the higher end. Some people say, I want the lower end. And we just work for them, and we put everything in writing. Everybody has consignment agreements. We have emails saying, so everybody's on the same page. Because also in trading, you can't make mistakes. You
Right.
make mistakes, you lose hundreds of thousands, you use millions. Like, and I can remember making three what I consider mistakes, and I never made the other one twice. And they haunt me. They haunt me decades later. But we really try and be very precise with our clients. They know what they're expecting. We don't want pieces returned, as I said. So we work
Yeah.
really hard on the condition descriptions. If there's a fold, it's in the description. If there's, a tear, it's in the description. We usually get emails like, ooh, this is better than I thought. Good. Let it be that way. I'd rather
Yes.
you be pleasantly
Mhm.
surprised. And then talking about settlements, um, we pack and ship pretty quickly. We email you your tracking number. We use FedEx. We found them a lot more reliable than UPS, and things like that. And so we want, the art to go out quickly, safely, and we have very, very few pieces damaged. I can't remember the last time something was damaged. I think like a year or two ago. FedEx is usually pretty good. FedEx Ground, not as good as the faster, but we want people to have options. And then I do something that I call sales trading. And that's like opening somebody up. So if somebody buys a piece from us, we say, great. Are you looking for anything else? If you brought a Briar Rose drawing, are you interested in more Sleeping Beauty pieces? Or do you collect princesses? Do you want more drawings? We try and sales trade them so that we understand more of what they would like. So when we get something in, we can let them know.
Love that. Love that. All right. There we go. Now we're caught up.
Well, what I would like to know is about the animators themselves. What is it like when legendary animators like Andreas Deja and Willie Ito see the artwork in your gallery and begin sharing personal stories and memories connected to the pieces that they're viewing? Like, what do those moments mean to you, and how do they enrich the experience for others around them?
Very fangirl. I get very fangirl, even though I've known Andreas for years, and he very kindly did a drawing for me, that he signed, and that's one of my treasures. Like, it's not the most valuable piece I have in terms of financial, but it's very valuable to me
Right.
as a person. Um, and so there's also some shows. There's a show in Burbank at CTN that's usually around Thanksgiving, and Willie Ito was there, and Andreas was there, and so Willie Ito worked on Lady and the Tramp. So we put a Bella Notte, which is the spaghetti scene, one of the most sought after scenes. That one, wow, that was fast. One of the most sought after scenes in animation. So these Bellinotes go for a lot more than your typical Lady and Tramp sell, because there's that premium for that scene. And so with permission, Willie Odo started talking about working on it, and we took a video of him talking
Wow.
about it. And the piece sold to a client, and we sent them the video. of him talking about, talking about, I mean, can you imagine? You not only do you have this amazing piece, you have the animator who worked on that scene talking about your piece. The client was pretty happy
I'll
with that.
bet. I'll bet.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we didn't charge any extra for that. We just thought that was a nicety. We actually did it as a surprise for the client.
Mhm.
We sent it to him afterwards. And then Andreas Deja at the last CTN came to our booth and flipped through our drawings. And my God, he's like an encyclopedia. He's just like, oh, yeah, this was done by so-and-so and da, da, da. And he just flips through all the drawings and you're just mesmerized. You're just speechless when someone like Andreas comes to your booth. And he's a lovely guy. Willie is a lovely guy. But I'm a little fangirl, I have to say. I'm a little like, hi, Andreas. Thanks, Andreas. I get a little tongue-tied.
That's just awesome. That's the type of
It
stuff
is.
that I love to hear, that connections that people have. And that is, what's great about that piece, Jen. I was looking at this for a few minutes as I was putting it up here. You can see Lady and the Tramp just kind of jumping off the screen,
Mhm.
that's
Of
just,
course.
to me, that's just, the paintwork that was done on that is just spectacular. Absolutely love it, love it, love it. So, all right. I would like to talk with you a little bit about the fact of living in Los Angeles. I can imagine you've had your fair share of celebrity visitors and clients. And we also want to note for everybody watching, many of whom value their privacy when purchasing. We want to respect that as well as I know Debbie does as well. So we're not going to ask her for any of that. But I do know that there are a few that we can talk about. And while discretion is key, I've heard a unique story involving James Gandolfini, one of my favorites from a mafia
Yeah.
show. You got to love him, that you might be able to share with us. And then, these experiences right here in front of us, talk about the interactions with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Scott Stapp, who is the lead singer of Creed, if I remember correctly.
Stapp is, this picture happens to be Pete Went, and I do have
Oh,
permission from all three
okay.
gentlemen to have photos, and mention. So the James Gandolfini story, oh boy, that was something. So we were we had a gallery that I rented for a little bit in Beverly Hills, and we were locking the door for safety. There had been a few people around that had made us a little uncomfortable in the neighborhood, so we locked the door. And James came up to the door. We weren't expecting him, and he's pulling on it, but he didn't look like Sopranos was, I believe, filming at the time, but he was filming a Christmas movie with Ben Affleck. I don't remember what it was called. And so he looked very different. He had a beard, he had all these things. And we were like, who is that? Trying to get in the gallery. And I'm like, oh, it's James Gandolfini. Oh my God. Oh my God. So we opened the door. I was like, what do I say? Do I pretend I know him? Do I not know him? What do I say? So I'm like, hi, James. Welcome to the gallery. What brings you here? And it's like, oh, I'm filming and I want to look at some things. And so he was looking to buy some pieces as gifts for people he worked on the film with. For the director, for Ben Affleck, at that time was dating J-Lo, the Bennifer thing, round one. And then he ran out of time and he got called to set. I was like, oh, and he was like, I have to go, but will you bring a bunch of art and visit me on set in like an hour or so? I was like, yes, James. Yes, yes, I will. So we got all this art together and we drove out and they got on the lot and we were sitting there in his trailer. He was so nice and he was playing video games. He's like, come on in. And we start showing him art and then it gets called for a scene. He's like, come on, come on, come on. And then so we go, we're sitting like he let us sit in the director's chairs. We saw this scene happening. Ben Affleck walks by. This was just very fun and exciting.
Wow.
I'm from Connecticut. This does not happen in Connecticut. And then we go back in the trailer. He picks some art. He picked a piece of the Sleeping Beauty jester drinking, because I guess at that time Ben was going to Vegas a lot and living it up. So he thought that would be very funny to give to Ben. And then, he was making a bazillion dollars an episode. And so he gets the art together and he asked me for a discount. And I'm like, ugh, okay. I want him happy. I want him to tell his celebrity friends. So I said to him, I said it just like this. I risked the whole sale. I looked at him, and because he'd just been in People, he was making like $1 million an episode, all this stuff. So I looked at him and I said, "Okay, James, I want you to be happy. I want you to buy from me." I said, "But don't think that I don't know that you just got a big ass raise." And I said it just like that. And it was silent. And it was silent. And I thought, oh, I just blew this big sale and I pissed him off. And then he started laughing and then he wrote me a check. And I have a copy of that check and I framed it. And
Nice.
that
That's a
is the
great
end of the
story. That is absolutely
Wow.
awesome. I loved him as an actor. God rest his soul. It's a shame that he passed away. He was amazing. So, Doug, we're not. I don't think there's any Donald Duck. I don't know. We'll find out. Hang tight with Donald Duck. Tell me about Kareem. You got to spend time with Kareem?
Yeah, my sister does PR, and so she is friendly with Kareem, and Scott Stapp and some other people. And so when they come to LA, they very kindly sometimes visit the gallery, and sometimes uh, people buy a piece, and sometimes they're gifted a piece from me. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar told me what he liked, and it was my pleasure to give him that as a gift.
That's
And
very
he
nice.
graciously let us,
Nice.
take a picture of him. Pete, once that his team reached out to us uh, for a nightmare piece, and he got that from us. And again, very kindly gave us permission to
Awesome.
have the picture
Love
with him
it.
at the piece.
Very cool.
Well, in your over 30 years of running the gallery, you've undoubtedly encountered countless incredible pieces. But could you share with us some of the most cherished or memorable pieces that come to mind? And if you're comfortable, what has been the highest recorded sale in the history of your gallery?
Sure. No problem. The So for me, the most exciting thing is, as I mentioned earlier, art that's never been to the market before. And I
Hmm.
hesitate to say discovered because somebody had it, but I mean discovered in the sense of a collector has never had it. So this lady contacted me. Well, again, it was like 28 years ago. A lot of these stories happened when I was first starting, I think, because a lot of artists come out over the years. So obviously, every year that goes by, there's fewer discoveries. But this lady contacted me. She had this Mickey Mouse cell. It turned out to be the first color Mickey ever from the Academy Awards, and I got it in, and we were working on consignment, and I ended up selling it for a lot more. I think it was around $70,000, if memory serves, and that's on the higher end of what the Disney art will
Okay.
go for.
Very cool.
Sometimes at auction, it'll go for 100, 200,000. Sometimes people get caught up in auctions. I sold a piece at auction recently around $8,000. I think if I had priced it at $8,000 in my gallery, I think I would still have it. Sometimes people just get caught up in the excitement and pieces can go. But so we sold it for a lot more, and I gave her a check for a lot more. I had a contract that it would be for a certain percentage, and she got a lot more than she had initially agreed, because the more research we did, the more we realized this was, a home run piece. That was very exciting. The other one, the Snow White and the Witch concept, this lady from Alaska, I'd only been in business like 2-3 years, and I didn't
That's the
realize,
Tenggren
not
one.
that one,
Yeah, the
the Witch with
Tenggren
the
one. Let me go
apple.
to this one.
Yeah, that one. So this lady contacted me in Alaska. I've never had a Snow White concept score like this since. I think there was around 30 or so pieces. One was a queen with a puma, because this is concept art. She doesn't have a puma in the final film. That made my heart stop. I sold that piece. I shouldn't have sold that piece. Sometimes you look back, you go, I shouldn't have sold that. But I did keep this one. This one I have in my collection. And it was just it was just piece after piece after piece. And it sent shivers. It was amazing. And that art, I cannot name names, but that art went into the rest. I kept a few pieces, sold a couple to a collector that I was very close with, and the rest went to a very, very large collection, one of the largest collections in the world. I would say this piece here is, very museum worthy. what would be another? I don't want to talk about Simpsons, but
You want to talk about any of the Ichabod stuff or the Tenggren stuff?
yeah, thank you, thank you. So I bought this Ichabod book. Um, I don't have that. I never had that one. I never had many collectors ask me about Ichabod, but I took a chance. I bought this book, and it came. I bought it in a small auction. It came. Oh my God, this book is from beginning to end of storyboards tracing in timeline the story of Ichabod. A few were missing, so there was around 95 of them. And I did try and sell it, which wasn't cheap, as a whole book because I thought it was important to keep it together. I think because of the price point, it just didn't happen. And I hold on to it for a number of years. I really didn't want to break it up, but we have recently started breaking it up and selling some of them. But I did try and keep it together. But when do you see a vintage Disney from beginning to end of
Right.
storyboards? I've never seen that before or since. And so that was really, really exciting, that kind of thing. So that's what makes me excited when I'm finding art, when it's really good. Um, and again, I guess what we're talking about is concept art, right? These have been kind of concept art scores, and that's pretty cool. And then it's fun to show pieces like this to someone like Andreas and be like, "Who do you think the animator in this was and that was?" I personally very hesitant to say, "Okay, this is a milk call. I'm putting this in my certificate," because milk call drew a lot like Lounsbury. And I don't want to get it wrong. And sometimes you can show these pieces to Disney animators who know this stuff. They've been around this stuff. They studied it, and sometimes they don't always agree. So I don't want to be in a position where I say it's X and then somebody else says it's Y, and then I've got an upset client. So sometimes we might say attributed to or a best guess is, but I'm concept art's easier to do that. This is a Tenggren that I sold. Going back to the more expensive pieces, Tenggrens are at the top. You know, I don't recall exactly what I sold this piece for, but it was probably in the 60, 70, $80,000 kind of range. The Tengrens are just, these concept artists, the Mary Blairs, the Tengrens, the Kai Nielsen's, all these things. They've really, 30 years ago, there wasn't that much interest in them. Now it's the top. It's the most expensive. It's the
It's the
everything right now.
thing. And then, of course, we had the Chernobog one too.
Wow.
Yeah, that was in my collection. I did sell that one and I sold it for good money, but I've never had another one, anything like that.
That's very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, over the years, I'm sure you've experienced some truly magical or unexpected moments, through your work. But I'd imagine that some of the most meaningful involved connecting with a brand new collector, discovering animation sell for the first time, like many people in our chat tonight. To be honest with you, could you open up a bit about maybe one of those special moments that come to mind of somebody who was, new to this, and you got to share with them this, and all of a sudden you see the excitement come out.
Yes, I'll tell a fun story. So I may have mentioned my husband's English. So for a long time, there was a gallery in London. Had a gallery, had the storefront, and everything. I was the second largest gallery in London because I used to go out there and attend these shows, which is kind of funny because I didn't live there. But people kind of got to know me as I said. I was writing those articles and things like that. And Batman the Animated. It's okay. Can I tell a Batman story?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So my uncle was the voice of Batman, Kevin Conroy, animated series, and so we did a show with Uncle Kevin in Birmingham, the NEC Birmingham show, and particularly then the internet was just kind of starting to get going, things like that. So very much so in England, people really weren't exposed to this art, right? There was the one gallery in London, whereas in America, there were a number of galleries. There was some conventions, Disneyana convention. And I just remember this young guy who's probably in his mid 20s came up, had never seen this art before. The look on his face, the everything. And then he met Uncle Kevin and he bought a piece, he got it signed. And you could just see that like me, his life was changed forever. And not only that, it's not just I bought an animation cell, I bought a signed animation cell. Like Uncle Kevin signed it for him. he got a picture with Uncle Ken. Like it was also a whole experience, a
Right.
whole memory, a whole everything. And I love that. And then um, also like Simpsons, I remember this lovely lady came in the gallery. She never bought a piece before. I took the time. I took the time to make sure she understood what she was buying, made sure to understand, because the backgrounds can be very confusing for new clients. Because if you see the cell, right, Briar Rose, she's running all over the forest. There's only one master background, one original background from the film that may or may not have survived the years. That may or may not be in the Disney Family Museum. That may or may not be locked in the Animation Research Library, which has a ton of art. But as far as, oh, thank you, Tim. That's so exciting. Um, that makes me feel really good. So, uh, but as far as collectors are concerned, anything in the ARL, it's not available, right? It's locked in, like it's locked in a museum. And so, what do you do with all these homeless Briar Rose cells? And a lot of people like the visual. So sometimes we have a lady that we work with, and she'll hand paint a background that looks nice, and we make sure, and she makes sure that she does it slightly off so it doesn't match the film, so it's not accidentally sold later on as
Right. As original.
something
Yeah.
it's not. And we also have a bunch of Xeroxes of hand painted, or we trade with other dealers. So we have a whole stack. So when Briar Rose comes in, we put on a force. We're not pretending that the background is any more value than if you went to Staples and made the copy yourself. And if you want to take it off and have it the cell just as a cell, you can. But most people tend to like the whole visual picture. And so
Yeah.
we make that for them. But it can lead to a lot of confusion when people are first starting. They just see a cell. I think there's an assumption that it's on an original background, things like that. So we make sure that our certificates are very clear. We want people happy and clear. And when you set collectors off, when they have a good first buying experience and they are armed with the knowledge to be smart about it, like I told you, my bad first experience. And so I made it like my life's mission, to make sure no
Right.
other collector goes through what I went through if I can help it. Uh, then you probably have a collector for life, you know. And now I forgot what the question was.
No, you pretty much covered it all the way through. I love that in sharing an experience, with that. I think that experience flies is similar with, your animation cells as it would be for, I've seen it at the Festival of the Art when I've seen somebody walk up to an artist and see a piece for the first time and be so overwhelmed into it and have that experience of, okay, I'm buying this and getting it signed, right then and there. So that's been kind of interesting. I've seen it recently with some of the artists that we deal with when they talk about some of the stories of, when they have their book and they meet somebody for the first time who read their book but was impacted by the book to meet the artist and tied in. I think the keepsake of it is a key thing. A perfect example for me, we just had Bob Weiss on here not too long ago, and Bob, more importantly than he sent me the book and everything, and his books are fantastic, which I loved it. But more important for me was I got a personalized letter from Bob Weiss on Walt Disney Imagineering paper. This will never leave my house. It's something simple as something
Exactly.
that, and that's what you're saying is the full experience. Jen, you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. That personal touch is what makes all the difference.
JMC would like to know what's a piece that Debbie has in her personal collection that she will never sell.
This is a question I can answer, or the last piece I would ever sell. So I collect British things like my husband, right? The ultimate
You
souvenir.
can't sell your
Uh,
husband, Debbie. Don't
what?
sell it. Don't sell your husband. I thought that's where you were going.
No, not going that. But I lived in London and I had
Okay.
a flat there for many years. My children are half British, blah, 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 blah.
Nice.
So I like pieces that are British.
Okay.
And I was in an auction in Christie's, London. Everything exciting seemed to happen about 25 years ago. And it's actually an auction where I met my now best friend, who is British. And they had an oversized background of London at night. I like night, I like glowy, and it's big. I mean, it is, I don't know, 4 times as big as a normal piece. And it's a Peter Pan, London at night. It's
Oh
in
my
this
God.
giant frame, and it's the last piece I'll sell.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I know that we covered, Jen. We kind of covered a little bit with the two cells where we're going. Did you have any other that you wanted to throw anything out there about the cells, Jen? Before we jump on, I think we covered everything
Well,
with our questions there, did we?
I think so. Just what it means to uncover something truly special. Like, what does that mean to you in your heart when you're treasure hunting and you find remarkable things like that Snow White piece and like that first Mickey Mouse color piece? I mean, that's got to just be a thrill.
My heart stops. What happens
Mhm.
is because we're so well known, people come to us. So
Right.
we're shown art pretty much every day. Some of it's a fit, some of it's not. So these were all, so the Snow White collection, and yeah, all these were from people who found our website and contacted us. And then we bought the art from them or worked with them on consignment, depending on what it is. But when I see things like this, and let's be honest, one of my concerns of making the gallery is it makes it a little bit less exciting, right? Because now I have a business component to
Right.
animation rather than I'm just collecting. So so I have to look at it also with the eye of, hey, do we have collectors for this? What would the right price be? So I have to put a business mind in. But once in a while, collector Debbie does come through when we see something, and my heart stops. I'll see somebody like, Rob, because he's my gallery director. I'm like, we gotta get this in. We gotta get this piece in. How do we get this in? You got right. He's like, I'm on it. This is my job. I know what I'm doing. I've been with you for 20 years. Both my folks have been with me for 20 years. She's like, I got it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, Rob, did the piece come in? Did the piece? He's like, will you stop calling me and let me do my job, please? And he's like, okay. So that it doesn't happen often, but it
Mhm.
can still happen.
Jen, that's a great question. So I have a quick follow up that just came to mind. Have you ever been like sitting in your gallery and just had a piece walk in that you had no idea, and you're just in there doing your thing, and all of a sudden you go from 0 to 60 and over, a second?
People don't tend to walk in
Okay.
with the pieces so much. They tend to email or call first.
Okay.
So they don't usually come in and give me a heart attack. The heart attack usually happens behind the scenes with Rob calming me down.
Okay. That sounds familiar over here. So it works out really well. Not wrong. So I love it. All right. I want to talk about your website for a second. Because
Okay.
I think you touched base on it a little bit earlier, and I thought it was a very important point that you made. You've dedicated an entire section to animation art definitions. I'm only showing a small part of this, everybody. Debbie has been doing an amazing job with all the moderators out there dropping links in. You can go over to the website via one of the links. Could you talk to our audience about the importance of this segment and how it helps both buyers and sellers better understand, your terminology, your history, the nuances of animation art?
Sure. I think that when you start, it's very confusing, um, because there's reproduction cells and production cells. And there's definitely been people, not at my gallery, that have bought things and didn't understand what they're buying. And then they kind of call us and say, oh, I once got a call again a number of years ago saying, I have original cell from Steamboat Willie. I'm not aware of original cell from Steamboat Willie existing. So I was like, I did the thing. Um, and it turns out they had a series cell and they bought it at the Disney store a few
Ah,
years ago. Um, and I don't have, listen, I'm not into the reproduction art. The series cells are kind of like posters on plastic. The limited editions are hand painted, perfect scene, one of 250. They're not, neither of those are production art. So that's not my jam. We don't really sell a lot of those. If you're a collector that knows exactly what you're buying and a series cell is what you can afford and what you want, I fully support that. If you want the spaghetti scene and you can't afford the 15, 20,000 what the Bellinoches go for, and there's a hand painted limited for 1, 2, 3, 4,000, the prices have come down a lot on those, and I'll get to that in a second. And that makes you happy, go for it. I'm all for it. What I don't want is someone who buys a series cell, thinks it's original, and then they got burned. And I think that's terrible for everybody
yeah.
involved. So that's why I have the definitions. That's why I want you to know what you're getting. Um, the limit. So again, I used to be a trader, right? And what are prices? Supply and demand. And so when Disney and other studios started coming out with these limiteds, the first one was Snow White and all seven dwarfs. trying to get a cell set up with Snow White and all seven dwarves, very, 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 very expensive. Very few exist. Um, so there was a logic to if in real life you found this, it was $30,000 at the time or whatever it would be, and a limited came out for I'm not sure because I'm not fluent in those three, four, five $1,000. But and then there was 250, one of 250 or 500. But then and a lot of the sales point, because I used to go in the Disney stores, I was interested as to what they had. They had some Little Mermaid art. I love Little Mermaid. I bought a few pieces from them. And they would do the whole spiel. Oh, look, it's the only thing. But guess what? Then they came out with another limited edition of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So now you have twice as many in the world. Does that mean on the other side, these now got dropped by half? So a lot of these limits, very, very few of them have held their value. Most of them, they've come down. They're a quarter of what they were worth, a tenth of what they're worth, all these things. Um, and the Paraguays, that was another score that they're writing about in the chat. That was another one where someone came to the gallery and I bought a collection of Walt Paraguay. I'd never had a piece of his before, and that was amazing. But what my concern is people buying things and not understanding. And that's what happened a lot. And I also went to a Warner Brothers store. They're not around anymore, but when I lived in Manhattan, there was one near my house. I went in. I was horrified, to be honest with you, what they told me. They said, oh, if you buy this, it's guaranteed to go up 20% every year. It's this and this and this. I was a trader at the time. If I said anything like that, I lose my license, I'm fired, I'm done. There's no way you can guarantee that.
Right.
And if it's going to go that much, why doesn't that guy buy everything? It didn't make sense.
Yeah,
And
it makes, yeah. Oh,
it really, kind of hits you there. So I really want to make sure that people understand what they're buying. And again, if a limited edition's what makes you happy, go for it. Just know what you're buying. Just know what it is. That's all.
great points.
Oh.
Great points. Well, jump too fast. Where'd it go? Why did it go from there? All right. Well, something must have happened on my thing there because that's not supposed to be there yet. We'll stay here. Jen, could you do your next? Take your next thing. Obviously, my thing is locked up right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, as we pull our journey tonight into the train station, I want to give you a moment to remind our audience that not only do you actively purchase the art, but you also offer consignment services. So, could you take a moment to recap how both of those options work for collectors and those who are looking to sell?
Certainly. So, if you're someone that has art that you're looking to sell, the best thing to do is to email it to us. My website is wwagallery.com because when I started, Wonderful World of Animation was actually too many letters. The URLs didn't exist that long, if you can believe this.
Wow.
So wwagallery.com is a little easier and quicker to type. And the email for selling is AFS, which stands for Art for Sale, at wwagallery.com. And then if it's something that we think is a fit for us, we will give you the option. If you want a buyout price, we'll tell you, meaning if it comes in as you've described it in the condition and it comes safely, you'll get a check, pretty much immediately for X. Or we can take it on consignment, which means we pick the retail price with you. We take a percentage. We eat the visa fees. We eat the insurance fees. I eat, and my people have been with me for a long time. I pay them very well. I pay their health insurance, the whole thing. Like they're like family to me. They matter, and I look after them.
That's
And
nice.
so there's a percentage, and so you know what it is. So if it's retails for 1,000, you know what check to expect. And everybody's clear. And sometimes we'll get a collector that says, hey, I'm buying a few pieces, or will the consignor take this? We write you an email. You got an offer of X. Is this something you want to accept? Do you want to counter? Or is this something that doesn't work for you? And we'll politely tell them no. And so what's important to me, again, from trading, I like clear trading instructions. I want no errors. I want everybody on the same page. I want collectors happy. I want consignors happy. I want everybody to know what they're getting and be very transparent about it. I think that got your question.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I
Yeah,
we've been dropping
definitely.
links throughout the night into the chat. You can find all of the links there. Also, all links will be posted into the description of this video. So if you're watching the replay and for some reason can't see the chat, you can go over there and find all of her links for all of her social media. And that means where you can find her, obviously on Instagram. Why did Theron Skis come in there? There we go. All right. For some
That's
reason,
me.
my computer's having a little fun tonight. There you go. The Wonderful World of Animation, you can find over there on Instagram. We're also available on Facebook with the group, which does a great job. And then, of course, the Wonderful
Thank
World of
you.
Disney Gallery on Facebook as well. And of course, we talked about the website throughout the night. Absolutely great ways to do it here. As we, pull thing into, the train station here to close everything out for the night, we always talk about a final thought of the night. And we've seen so many great. If you guys were listening and engrossed, hey, Fast Pass Radio, welcome in. He says, "Wow, a background from Ub Iwerks Happy Days. That's one of my favorite cartoons." Well, there you go. We'll see.
Well,
This is
you know
a
who to
good one.
call.
Give her a call, Anthony. You can buy this right now, and then I'd like to see a picture of it in your house. That's what I say. And JMC says Debbie has a great Facebook group for Disney art collectors. Yes, I've seen it, and I follow it. So thank you, JMC, for putting that in there. You can click up, get a hold of Debbie, and talk at any point. And also, if you're brand new to us, we interview people like Debbie that bring the magic in a totally different way, whether it's Imagineers, whether it's Debbie's the way she's doing it with her gallery and her passion for collecting, whether it's our artists for the Festival of the Art. We've interviewed so many great ones this year. We've got more authors coming and hopefully more animators in the future. Final thought of the night. I'm gonna let Jen go first here, and then I'll go, and then Debbie, we'll let you finish up with your final thoughts. So, Jen, your thought tonight as we close things up.
I have learned so much tonight, and I am just in awe of the things that you have in your gallery. Like these are, I can't say it enough. These are originals. This is it. This is where it all began. And it's so exciting for me. And I've learned so much. And now I hate to say that I might be a customer of yours here real soon, but I just want to say thank you for sharing with us yet another aspect of Disney and art and how it all ties together. And I think this has been a great interview, very educational for me for sure. And I'm really excited to dig in deeper and see what other pieces you have. So thank you so much for
That's so
joining us
nice.
tonight and opening up our eyes to this whole area of animation.
Wow. Well, as always, usually on the show, when I should know better than let her go first. She says everything I want to say and says it better than I would. So well said, Jen. I will add on top of that that my interaction with Debbie has been absolutely incredible. Quick responses on everything we've done, extremely nice and personable. It's we really just gotten to know her because of this. We didn't know her beforehand, and yet after just a couple communications, I felt like she was somebody you could sit down and have a coffee in the morning and talk about some of
Mhm.
your favorite art and everything you're going to do. I love the fact that you carry your entire business with the highest sense of integrity. As you know, we deal with art and so many things. Jen and I were just dealing with collectible Disney pins down in the park, and they're like, "Oh yeah, half these are fake." And here I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm having a heart attack." So the fact that you deal with so much prominence to make sure that your guests that come into your gallery are getting what they're supposed to be getting, and they could hang it on the wall knowing it actually is. My kudos to you for
Mhm.
that. And finally, guys, if you're like Jen and I here tonight, and you saw something you like, go over to our website. Absolutely, go over to our website. And there's so much more. I haven't even shown you. It would take me 8 hours to do this interview if I showed you everything on the website. There's so much over there to go through, from the smaller end to sketch art and stuff like that, and preliminary art, to all the way up to some of these higher pieces, like the one I hope that Anthony Fast Pass Radio goes and buys when you're talking about All Works. That is pretty cool. So that's my final thought. I'll throw it over to you, Debbie, for your final thought of the night.
Oh, thank you. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. You said wonderful things about me that I hope I remember, because I'm going to actually write it down as soon as I get off because it was so delightful. And it means a lot to me. It's a labor of love, this gallery. What I'd say is if anyone wants to pop over the website and join our mailing list, there's no obligation, but you will
Okay.
get emails every week with
There
our
you go.
new releases of things that came in the gallery. You'll see them before they go on the website, so you have a chance to snap them up, which happens a lot. So that might be something. And also, we really try and help people get the art that they want. So we work with people with no fee layaways. We have a non-refundable deposit, and then you can pay over a number of months. And if it's a higher end piece, or we know you really, really want a piece, we'll extend the layaway a little bit for you. We want you to get the art that you want. And I would say my last bit of advice is buy art you like. Don't
Cool.
think investment, it's going to double, it's going to triple, all this. Just buy what you like, buy what's comfortable for you financially. So when you look at the piece, you're happy. Because if you thought it was an investment and it goes down, then it's stressful and you didn't really like that piece anyway. So just think of it, right? You buy a refrigerator, you're not selling it for what you paid for it. Most cars, right? You buy a lot of other things and they don't go up in value. So I don't suggest doing it for investment. We don't push people investment. People have asked me that and I won't answer it like that. I will say, I think this piece is very good value for money.
Hmm.
I think you're getting a lot out of your money, but I don't guarantee anything. I don't sell an investment. And I think any gallery that does, quite honestly, is being disingenuous.
Very nice. I love that. I also want to highlight that Debbie will be at the Lightbox show in Los Angeles area. That can be found at the www.lightboxexpo.com. And that's a little bit away, but you can put it on your calendar now. October 24th to the 26th of this year. People who live in LA, or if you're visiting, you can stop by her gallery by appointment only. They are there, so you could do that as well. But you could check her out at the Lightbox Expo. That'll be awesome as well. So I'm going to ask you to hang tight backstage for just a second. We'd love to chat with you and say goodbye at the end. And Jen and I will close out here tonight because we got a surprise for everybody watching. Nobody knows about this because this is brand new, literally just happened right before the show. So Debbie, thank you. Hang tight. We'll be right back to you. Jen, wow. We just keep finding these amazing people doing incredible things with the love and passion of not only Disney with this, but so many others like Hanna-Barbera and Simpsons and so much else that is key to our culture, our pop culture nowadays.
What was nice about this interview was showing our viewers another aspect of art.
Mm-hmm.
We've had the artists, we've had the authors, we've had animators. They've done designed merch. They've done, animating cartoons and
Mm-hmm.
shows on TV. Like, this is just another branch of how someone can experience real art. Real cells used in real movies
Yeah.
that we love. And I'm so happy that we're able to bring this to our viewers tonight.
And I don't know if he's watching, and he may be in the chat, Ninja. I sent a note over to Scooter today and just said, hey,
Mm,
here's who we got coming on. Cause he worked down in the animation building down there
mm-hmm.
in Disney, and he still loves animation. And for him to be regarded as one of the top artists in America, and to be able to still have that love of animation, hopefully he'll, if not not Ninja, hopefully he'll check out the replay and love that. Well, we have a surprise for everybody. We've been working on other unique things to expand the horizons of Disney dialogues. And a lot of people have been out in California lately, and you may have seen our next guest. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. Our next guest does a lot of exquisite Disney, I guess, bounding to the extreme. Would that be a good way to say it? I think I'm saying it right there, Jen.
Extremely extreme, like the extremist.
Yes. Joining Jen and I on August the 12th, this was literally just booked a little bit ago. It's going to be Bill Burns from Bill Burns Cosplay. If you've seen him in the park, he does Walt. That's his dress and attire as Walt, and Walt's standard attire there. Jen, he is so good that people literally in the parks go up and get pictures with him. Unbelievable, left and right.
Yeah, just seeing him, it kind of gives you goosebumps. It
Yeah.
really does, because none of us have ever seen Walt with our own eyes or been around him. You see him on the TV shows
Mhm.
and things like that, documentaries. But this is almost creepy because he is so much like Walt.
You know, he even
It's
does.
amazing. I can't wait for this interview.
Well, Anthony says that he sees them all the time out there. He is at the parks a lot. He actually gives out business cards like Walt did at the parks. He's so
Hmm.
good. He
Hmm.
also does, if you love Star Wars and all that, he does Count Dooku. He's amazing as Count Dooku. He does so many others. I don't want to let him out of the bag. I saw pictures of him at the
Hmm.
70th anniversary. Neil says, I'm telling you, I have watched this guy for years. This is one of those where I'm fanboying a little bit because I've been trying to work on this. I don't know, Janet, how long am I doing it? Probably a year that I've been working on
Oh,
this,
at least.
at least
At
trying to reach
least.
out to him and
As
try to
long as
get
you've
him.
been doing the dialogues, yeah.
Yeah, and he was kind enough today. I literally sent him a thing out of a whim. Just I was in his Instagram. I saw some new pictures. I was like, "Hey, any chance for an interview?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so that's how it came up. So
Mhm.
Bill Burns will be coming into us August 12th. I can't wait for it to hear his story, his passion. Jen and I love that about where did it all start? How did it all come about? Tell us what you're doing now. What are you looking forward to the future? We're going to talk about Bill. He's also an artist, Jen. I found
That's pretty cool.
yeah, Aaron Murphy, hello. I found his Instagram for his art, and it's very unique. So we're going to talk art as well with Bill Burns. So it's been a great night. To my broadcasting partner, exquisite as always, great job here. I love doing the show with you and having so much fun. What a great guest! It was like sitting and drinking. Well, for me, a Pepsi. I won't go with coffee. For me, it was sitting and drinking a Diet Pepsi at Disney and just having some fun. I hope when we go out there to
Mhm.
California, we're still working on trying to get a trip out there to the parks with a group of us that are talking.
Yeah.
Casey wants to go, and a couple of us. Maybe we can find a way and send her a note and go visit her gallery and do a little bit of live there and bring some more attention to
It's a
her. That would be
great
fun.
idea.
That would be a lot of
That's a
fun. So
great idea. I love that idea.
yeah.
Maybe I'll show you a few pieces from my personal collection.
Oh, there we go. Oh, how do you like that? I
We're
love it.
booking it.
Well,
Booking it
that
now.
sells it. We're done. All right, everybody. Have a great night. Come see us on the 12th. We appreciate you being here. Disney Dialogues has been our pleasure to sit and have a conversation with you tonight. Good night, everybody.